Hey fam, my name is Jess Regali, and today we are going to be talking about tenants. No, not those awesome tenants that pay on time every month, the other tenants. Let's hit an intro. Number one, remain calm. You're the landlord, you have to be calm, you have to be professional. Anytime you're dealing with tenants, the best course of action is to not overreact as much as you want to and let your emotions take control of you. Remain calm and be receptive to what they're saying. In the long run, this is gonna avoid issues coming back to haunt you. I can't tell you how many times I've had friends, family, other investors come up to me and talk about a tenant issue they're dealing with. Meanwhile, in the background, they've already over email or over text freaked out on their tenant. Please avoid that. The best thing you can do is always keep a professional composure. And if it really does escalate, you've got other options that you can utilize. Number two is keep records. Absolutely 100% record everything. You need a written record of everything you do with your tenants, especially when you have tenants that are giving you a lot of issues. This can be written records, pictures of the suite if there's something in dispute. These are the things that come down the line when you're in front of a landlord-tenant board and you're pleading your case. That's what you're gonna have to be able to dispute anything the tenant is saying. This is especially true if you're like myself, who lives in a very tenant-favored jurisdiction. So anyways, keep those records. Number three, don't be friends with your tenants. It's very tempting to want to be friends with your tenants. I mean, at the end of the day, we're all human beings where you like to connect with people, but the reality is that tenants will take advantage of it. Not all of them, but the problem tenants are the ones you're worried about, and they will down the line. So what that means is part of being a landlord is teaching them the relationship that you have. You know, if they do something wrong and you let it go for a month, that's teaching them a pattern that you're gonna allow that in the future. If you reprimand them right away, that teaches them an alternative of how you're gonna run that building. A perfect example of this is when I have tenants that are late in rent, it doesn't matter if they're a day late or 7 days late, I file a notice in my area. I file a notice right away to evict. And part of the reason I do this is to show the landlord-tenant board that they were actually persistently in default. Say a tenant had been doing this for 6-7 months. And in my area, like I said, it's very tenant friendly, so we have to go above and beyond as landlords to show a judge in that case that, in fact, the tenant was in default over a longer period of time. No friends. You want friends? Join a social club. Number four, just genuinely be a good person. I find that if you're professional, if you are calm and understanding with tenants, that does set the tone for a relationship. You have to be fair, and if there are issues, you have to act swiftly and you have to show them that you're running a business there. But at the end of the day, always be friendly, never be disrespectful, never be rude to your tenants. I mean, it's just not a way to go through life, and it's especially not a way to act as a landlord when you are, in a lot of ways, given the responsibility or, set yourself up to have the responsibility of dealing with people and their families. Number five is have a manager. A property manager has always been the most effective way that I handle tenant issues because it gives me that little bit of buffer between myself and the tenants. Oftentimes when I was actually a younger landlord in my early 20s, I would pretend to be the property manager. Now I'm not saying, go lie to people, but oftentimes when they asked, I would say, I work for the owner, or, I'm here just kind of dealing with this one key issue, or I'm managing this property. And I found that it does help in the relationship because most people are not going to yell at somebody if they think they're working for the person that they should be yelling at. It gives them a little bit of understanding, and it probably gives them a little bit more perspective, not to completely fly off the handle over something. Hiring a manager is a great way to have that buffer if you can afford it, because they will deal with the tenants, and as the manager, it's easier because you can't be held responsible for something that the tenant thinks the landlord is doing. So it gives everybody a little bit of a chance to count to 10 and figure out what's going on. Number six, you can ask the tenants to leave. It seems like the most obvious example. And depending on your area, you may be able to pay the tenants to leave. And basically a legal way to do that in my area is actually give them an incentive to leave. You can pay them a certain amount of rent and they will sign a termination with you. This, for years, I didn't even think was an option, that you could just ask a tenant to leave. For years, I just never did that. And you know what? If you are having an issue with a tenant, that might be an option. You may be able to work out an arrangement where you pay for their moving costs or you give them an incentive, like I said. I would check with your state and province to first of all see if that's permissible, if you can exchange rent or some other type of incentive for them to leave. But that was something that I always found was useful if you're really having a challenge with the tenant. And lastly, number 7. Now this ties into some of the points I've already brought up, but start the eviction process early. Start the eviction process anytime the tenant is in default. It will show them that there is a proper management that's in place. It will show them that you are serious about running your building. And at the end of the day, it's not about hurt feelings. You're not doing this because you're trying to be disrespectful or that you don't understand their position, but you're basically telling them that the lease means what it means. And if you are in default or you break the lease in any way, you will start the eviction process. Now that doesn't mean that you can't be open to conversations with them and try to find a middle ground, but you're not gonna wait for them for that. You will start the eviction process. It shows that you're a professional. Okay, so that's the 7 tips of dealing with problem tenants. Hopefully that helps. If you have any questions, as usual, ask them below. If you want a video on a different topic, or if you want me to expand in any way, again, down below. Like, subscribe, you gotta subscribe. Anyways, this has been Jesse Fergali. We'll see you next week. Take care.